Ingram State Technical College, Montgomery, Alabama, 2016 graduation and commencement ceremony for women, May 17, 2016. Commencement speaker, Melva Tate, owner of Tate & Associates, Birmingham, Alabama. To the governor of this great state, the president of Ingram State Technical College, Dr. Dassinger, Board of Trustees, appointed and elected officials, faculty, staff, family members, and friends. And also a special thanks to those who assisted in coordinating my visit today, Mrs. Edwards and her team, and also my assistant, Deanna Brooks. And most importantly, thanks to our honorees. Thanks to each of you for this amazing opportunity to share with you today. Well, girl, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor. Simply bare. But all the time, I've been a-climbing on, and reaching landings, and turning corners, and sometimes going in the dark, where there ain't been no light. So, girl, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on those stairs, 'cause you find it's kind of hard. Don't you fall now, for I'm still going, honey. I'm still climbing. And life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Life for me ain't been no crystal stair. This statement has always intrigued me. It's the opening and closing statement of the poem Mother to Son by Langston Hughes. Of course, what you heard was my attempt to slightly modify and make it more fitting for today's honorees, this amazing group of women. If you heard the poem before, you know it's based on the idea of hope and encouragement to move forward in life, despite all difficulties, and no matter how tough life may become. In reading the poem, I'm reminded of a dear friend of mine, a beloved friend of mine, well, really a friend that has been close to me all my life. She would often state, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Early one morning, a quiet Sunday morning in fact, she sat across from me and began to reflect on the trials and tribulations of her life. She began to cry and pour out her heart and told her story that had a dreadful 5-year cadence. She said, I discovered life for me would be no crystal stair at the tender age of 5. She said prior to that day of discovery that her family's home was full of love and laughter and was accompanied by a playful dog, a white picket fence, 2 older sisters who cherished her, and a loving mom and dad. Her bedroom was pretty and pink and covered with dolls and stuffed animals all around. Until that day when she heard the shouting and screaming. That day was the first time in her life she saw a police officer. After watching her mother and seeing her battered face, she was immediately instructed to grab her favorite doll because the other dolls had to stay. She and her mom and her sisters whisked away in the middle of the night, moved to a place that was many miles away, to another state in fact. That 5-year-old moved to a place where there was no white picket fence, no playful doll, and no pretty pink room. She would later understand her tender world changed that day because of domestic violence, and her mom made the best decision she could to leave everything behind in an attempt to make anew. Some of you ladies share that day of discovery with that 5-year-old girl, witnessing or experiencing domestic violence and abuse, and life for you has been no crystal stair. Life for me ain't been no crystal stair, she said, because at the innocent age of 10, her mom's new boyfriend touched her inappropriately, waking up to his heavy hand in the dark, totally confused. He said he was sorry. He said he thought she was her mom. He begged her not to tell. She innocently obliged. But that touch, that secret followed her for 25 years, until she finally decided to take control of that situation, dismiss it and the thought of him from her life, and let that secret fly free. For some of you, life ain't been no crystal stair. You've been touched, molested, raped, and abused, carrying those hurtful secrets for years. Your life, whether at the age of 10 or 12 or 14, was turned upside down. No explanation, no justification, just innocence lost. At the age of 15, her mother and father remarried, and she moved back north to the state of her birth. Leaving her friends and family behind, she was desperate for new relationships and attention. She met a handsome boy who whispered sweet nothings in her ear and made her feel like she was the best thing since sliced bread. She enjoyed holding his hand and an occasional kiss on the cheek. Then one day, not a special day, he convinced her to go all the way and promised her everything would be okay. And at the age of 15, a week before her 16th birthday, the birthday that all girls eagerly await, Sweet 16, she discovered that she was pregnant. That straight-A honor roll student was pregnant. Crushed immediately were her dreams to go off to college and become a doctor. She now had a baby to raise. Then at the age of 19, she decided the only way to make a better life for her and her son was to enlist in the military. So a week after her 20th birthday, she was raising her right hand, pledging to Uncle Sam her commitment to serve our country. That 4-year commitment was not her challenge. It was the fact that she had to leave her son behind in the care of her parents. She would be an absent mom and miss major milestones in her son's life. She would celebrate his birthdays through pictures. She would miss his smell, his smile, and his hugs. She said, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Teenage, unwed mother, absent father, separated from my child for years. She said it's been difficult, agony at times. And for some of you graduates, you became a mom at a very young age. You had to struggle to keep up in school. Some of you had to drop out. You had to leave your child in the care of someone else. You worry about that child daily. Life has not been easy for you, and it surely has not been a crystal stair. So as I listened to her journey and the challenging, life-changing things with that dreaded 5-year cadence, I reminded her of the closing words of that Langston Hughes poem. Girl, don't you turn back. Don't you stop. You keep climbing. And climbing I did. You see, that story of my friend is my story indeed. The broken home, domestic violence, teen pregnancy, that is all me. All of me. The story of me. The story of Melva. For a long time I was ashamed to tell my story, confident that others would view me differently, treat me differently, treat me other than that perfect presentation to the world that I so carefully crafted without those dreadful experiences. But that one day, when I looked in the mirror and I had that conversation with the real Melva, I spoke openly about my life's ups and downs. I became the best friend I could ever have. That one that is true to herself, despite her scars, despite her mistakes, despite her shortcomings. So as I share my personal story with you as a backdrop to my words of encouragement to you today, and I invite you to take a quick journey with me to what I call my garden of peas. And in this garden, I have planted some of the tried and true knowledge nuggets to keep you moving, a variety of peas to keep you climbing those stairs of life. Like any good food, these peas will help provide the necessary nourishment to make it day by day. Now keep in mind, these peas can work in any environment, whether you are a player in the locker room preparing for the next big game, whether you're in the kitchen planning a big meal, whether you're deep in the hull of a Navy ship like I was, away from friends and loved ones for nearly a year, or your temporary environment, ladies, where you are right now. I invite you to feast on these peas every day. The first pea in my garden is called a plan. What is your plan for the rest of this life that you have? You heard it before. Those who fail to plan to fail. Our lives are laid out like a daily to-do list. Each day you wake up, you have a list of purpose assignments to complete. Your assignment could be to save a person's life using CPR, or you save that person's life with a word of encouragement when that person around you don't think they can make it another day. Or your purpose assignment could be as simple as a warm smile. I read the book, A Season to Remember, Faith in the Midst of the Storm. It was written by former Alabama football player Carson Tinker. Tinker talks about life's challenges after losing his girlfriend in the April 27, 2011 tornadoes that devastated Alabama. There is one statement in the book that I found very profound. He stated his mantra is to live in the vision, not in the circumstances of my life. That's right. Live in the vision, not the circumstances. Is your plan to live in the vision of what your life is destined to be versus in the now? And that's what you see around you day to day. To live in the vision, you must have a plan. I encourage you to make that plan today. The second P is process. What is the process you go through every day to execute your plan? Do you study? Do you meditate? Do you purposely put yourself in that zone by staying above all the chaos and commotion of everyday life in your current environment? Your plan is the words you paint in your mind or write on a piece of paper. Your process is the action it takes to give life to your words or that plan. I encourage you today, ladies, to establish a process. The third P in that garden of knowledge that I planted is put, as in put in the work. Do you put in the work, doing your best at whatever you do? Now, I have not always carried the title President and CEO and worked for myself. And my work has not always been glamorous. I've had job assignments that required me to clean up behind others, sweeping floors and scrubbing toilets. I never considered those jobs beneath me. But with each of those jobs, I took pride in my work. I knew that each of those jobs taught me a new skill. I knew that each of those jobs prepared me for my next assignment. I'm a true believer that you can never get to that dream job at the top of that crystal staircase without sweeping a few steps and mopping a few floors along the way. I encourage you, ladies, to put in the work in all that you do. The fourth P for me is persistence. Persistence is everything. With all the planning and process and putting in the work, it does not last if you're not persistent. The definition of persistence is continued existence or occurrence. Can you make a personal commitment to do that thing, whatever that thing is, over and over again? Can you make it a part of your being? Like forming a habit. Not a bad habit, of course, but a good habit. As Aristotle amply put it, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. I encourage you, ladies, to be persistent. The fifth P for me is prayer. How do you rebalance your life? For me, it is daily meditation and prayer with my God and Savior, Jesus Christ. I ask the Holy Spirit to guide my steps, guide my actions, and guide my interactions daily. I ask the Spirit to reveal to me what I don't know. I ask the Spirit to prevent me from entering places and encountering people who will hinder me from serving my purpose. For you, it may be something totally different. If no God, big G God or little g God, I encourage you to find a way to tap into your inner self. I encourage you to find a way to your inner peace and balance. And the last P and final P in my garden is people. Yes, I am talking about those folks in your circle, be they friend or family. The people around you will determine your journey on life's crystal stairs. Some will make your journey easy, while others will make your journey hard. As difficult as it was for me, I had to kick some people out of my circle. A man I loved, out. A cousin who was unsupportive, out. A friend since elementary school, out. When that individual no longer valued me as a person and added value to my life, they had to go to the outer circle, and I made no apology about it. Earlier this year, I joined 20 other phenomenal women in writing the book, I Am Woman. My chapter in the book was entitled, No Free Pass. In my story, I describe many of my challenging life experiences as I just shared with you. When I stopped giving free passes to those around me, my life changed. My circle expanded to now include people who support me, who love me, and who celebrate me. I was also blessed by reading similar stories from the kindred sisters who joined me in authoring the book, and they too admitted that life for them had been no crystal stair. As my gift to you, to help you celebrate this special occasion, your graduation, I have an autographed copy of the book for each of you. I hope that it will inspire you to one day, and that's one day soon, tell your story of tragedy and challenges to triumph and victory without embarrassment or shame. You own your story. So as I close, I encourage you to celebrate this milestone on this day. Celebrate your diplomas. Celebrate your certificates of completion. Celebrate your degrees in welding, in cosmetology, in office management. Celebrate. Celebrate the people who joined with you today to show you love and support. And know that this accomplishment is another giant leap on life's crystal staircase. And although your current situation and circumstances may seem dark some days, being incarcerated, remember the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The ultimate measure of a man, or in this case a woman, is not where he stands in moments of comfort or convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. My sincere prayer is that these words, these knowledge nuggets, these P's of good health and inspiration, plan, process, put in the work, persistence, prayer, and people, have fallen on good soil, or as my grandma would say, on good ground, and that your garden of peas will not only sustain you, but help nourish all those in your circle of support. Again, I thank you for this opportunity, but most of all, for that great equalizer that we all have to give to others, but can never get back, and that is your time. So to each of you, I say congratulations and many blessings.